Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Dave from Lowdown, filling in for Kirk.
I just want to say a big thank you for Dave from Lowdown for helping us out in Kirk's absence. So, welcome to the channel.
No worries.
Today, we're doing a discussion topic rather than a reaction. As the way that this works is I'll read out the discussion topic, and all three of us get 1 minute to effectively plan what we're going to talk about. And from our viewpoints to either pros, cons, defend it, back up the statement, whatever it might be, and then we'll have 2 minutes to give that feedback back, and then a little wrap up at the end, and then you at home get your chance to add your comments at the bottom of what you think. Okay, here we go. So this is today's discussion topic. How long should a band have been together before they should have released music on a digital platform or an album or anything like that? You have 1 minute to make your viewpoints of how long you think a band should have been together before they should have been releasing some form of music. 1 minute starts now. Okay, there we go. That is 1 minute of prep time. So just to confirm what the question was, again, just to make sure. So what the question is if once a band has formed, has been together and started, how long do we think is a reasonable amount of time that a band should be releasing music? Your 2 minutes to feedback on this starts now. Andy, over to you.
I mean, there are so many factors involved in this sort of scenario. You know, the experience of the members, whether the person sort of driving the band who's put it together has sort of created a lot of it prior to forming the actual band. From my personal experience, I've never been in a band before, but when I joined Nomadic Rain, there was one or several sort of albums and EPs sort of already recorded by the existing members, but we sort of created our album quite quickly, in as much as we sort of wrote a song every weekend that we met, demoed it, and then perfected it over a period of time. We were obstructed by COVID happening in 2020, which put our plans to record and release on hold a little bit. But in summary, I think if you've got a lot of the material created as an individual, you know, I'd like and expect a band to put something out in perhaps 6 months. But if you're coming together as a band, writing together and creating from scratch, you're looking at about a year. I don't think there's any sort of set time frames involved. There's so many factors involved as to how this would come about, and each band's going to be different. You certainly don't want to rush anything. That's one thing I'd say. You know, you don't want to feel the pressure. I've got to get something out. We will get something released just to fulfill a box. You know, just take your time when you're ready.
Okay, fair play. Dave, over to you for your 2 minutes to feedback your thoughts on it.
So, okay, what is a band? Band is a group of people that want to play some music and put it out there. So I think that if you are going to be putting yourself out there, why would you be put out there without any music? And if you want to go somewhere, for example, everyone has different goals, all right? For me, it's to be able to do a gig and have a beer and just headbang and have a good time. But some people is to do TV and to go out and be super famous. So in that case, you need a 6 month to a 12-month plan. You need to get your PR guys involved. You need to get music, which is paramount to everything, out there. If you haven't got the music, you're a catalogue of people. That's it. You're going to have people looking at you, can't listen to you, so you're never going to gain any traction. In regards to time frame, I would argue and say maybe within a month, because then you would have a couple of weeks to sort of build up to maybe the release of the first track, first video, first song. And then you would have maybe a week and 2 weeks preparing, and then 2 weeks to prep. So I'd probably say maybe a month, but Andy's totally right to say that there isn't a time frame. It shouldn't be rushed. It should be enjoyed. But, you know.
Okay, a very concise bit of feedback there from Dave. Okay, I'm going to share my thoughts on this one then. So let's start, so I make sure I don't run over 2 minutes. So the reason why this kind of topic has come up is because what I have seen, or we've seen, is bands that have formed and within a year have dropped an album. But we've also seen bands that have formed and in 5 years have dropped a 3-track EP. A very big mix of quality standards, etc. Some people focusing on the performing live, just constantly gigging, and that stops them producing any music to put out there. From my point of view, as what you said, Dave, is if you're in a band, your whole idea is people, yes, you want them to come see you live, but you need a product. And unfortunately, in this day and age, people don't go out to watch a gig for the sake of it. They go out because there's something of interest for them to go to. Yes, 20 years ago, you might have gone out to a gig on a night and gone, oh, let's just see which bands are on. But unfortunately, the joy of things like YouTube and everything else now means that if you see a bill line up, you will go on there, and the first thing you do is you search Facebook, you search YouTube, and if that band has got no information about it, you're like, I don't really know what this band sounds like. Am I going to take a punt on the amount of money I'm going to spend on it? So really, maximum time for me is within a 2-year period from starting of a band, you should have had your album out within a 2-year period, max for me. I would expect an EP by the end of year 1. If you've got traction to write the songs, rehearse them to a good standard, get in there, record an EP in a year is more than doable. If you've got barriers, and we've all had them, Lowdown, you guys have had some challenges. I know in Telescribe we have, Nomadic, you guys have as well. So everyone has operational challenges as a band. But if everyone in the band is committed to the band, it is achievable. The thing that stops it is there's usually one member in the band who it's no longer a priority in their life to do that. And the hard part is a lot of people look at bands as little friends and no one wants to hurt each other's feelings. Unfortunately, there is a big problem with that. But as a band, if 4 people in a band of 5 want to push forward and one person is pulling their feet or dragging their feet, there's a challenge that as a group of friends, someone needs to have a bit of a wake-up call. And 2 years, though, you should be able to sort those decisions out and get your music out. But there we go. Right, so that's my viewpoint. Challenges and conversation topics. Anything anyone wants to challenge about what anyone has said? Andy, any thoughts on what we said?
Just very interesting about what you said about the sort of the contrast. I can think of some examples that, you know, when you said about you can think of one band who have formed and have got a 10-track album out by the end of year 1, and another band who's got a 4-track EP after 5 years of being, you know, gigging and being on the circuit. So again, I think you not put that hitting on the head about the sort of drive and enthusiasm. You've all got to be prioritising it, at least to some degree, to make this project work. You know, you've all got to be wanting to do it. You've all got to be pulling and pushing in the same direction. Otherwise, it just labours it, doesn't it? It makes it more difficult. And Dave, you mentioned, I think early on in the evening about having, or when we interviewed you and your band, you had a plan. You set out what you want to do in a particular time frame. I think that's what needs, you need in place. We've actually, in the last few weeks, put that in place as well. We were not quite cohesing, sort of being cohesive and working together as a band. And we all sat down and drew up some bullet points of what we want to do, how we want to do it, who's going to do it, and when. And I think, that's the same with any business, any project, including being a band. That's obvious to me now and obvious to all of us. But we needed someone to sort of drive that point home and of us all to get on board with that idea.
Dave, any final thoughts?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I completely agree with having, the plan. As you know, I'm a massive advocate of this. I mean, no one is going to do it for you. So you do it yourself. Otherwise, it's just not going to fucking happen, man. So I think that I semi-agree with your point, Dave, about it being like an album within maybe year one. I do agree that there should be some form of product, which is, again, what you mentioned. I totally agree with that. The only thing I would probably say, which is not really a disagreement with it, it's more sort of taking it further, is that depends on that person's goal. You know, some people are totally okay with being in a band that plays in a pub once a month, you know, kind of like a residency almost. You know, they maybe take some requests, they do whatever, and that's their hobby. So for them, I think that they'd maybe have something out within, I don't know, a month or two, something like that. Whereas there are other people which that's their life. That is why they get up in the morning to, you know, write a new riff, sing a new song, play a new drum fill. You know, that's why they do it. So I think that those kind of people, I definitely would agree that within the year, maybe they would have a full product. And those kind of people are probably going to want to, and now I use the term succeed lightly because it depends on someone's goal.
Yeah.
But they're going to want to try and shoot for the stars. You know, if you try and shoot for the roof, you'll stay on the floor. If you try and shoot for the stars, well, you'll definitely go into the sky. So, I mean, I think that with people like that, it's definitely going to work for them. So I think it depends on their goals. But yeah, 6-month and 12-month plans, you know, if nothing else, I'm a determined dude. So, I mean, for me, having that plan in, Andy, that's great, man, that you've implemented that. It really, really makes a difference because you can then look at these tiny, tiny little goals. I think, oh, well, that's coming up soon. We've got 2 weeks of PR or 2 weeks of promo or X amount of time before we're going to be doing this. Maybe we should ramp up something, you know. And personally, I think that's fun. Like, it's like a little game, you know. I'm gonna beat that level. So,
yeah, I agree. I think because we do in Tellers, we've had the tracker from day one, and that was something we set out. So we're like, here's what we need to achieve in 6 months. Now, like what you said in Lowdown, that's extended by 3 months now because some things have happened and we've had to like, okay, that month was a write-off and we've had to push everything back.
Yeah.
One thing I found really useful in the Tellers one was every person in the band against every task was color-coded. Had they delivered their element, yes or no?
Nice.
So when I got to the end of the month, it was like, if you're green and you did your homework, and if you were a red, I was like, okay, well, everyone else has done that, and I'm still waiting for your baseline. So when am I getting your baseline? Your baseline wasn't sent over on the guide track. And then it's like, oh, crap, I'm behind on this. I will get it over by... And actually, what was really good about that was as soon as I sent it out, I was getting messages back going, what am I still outstanding on? Let me know, and I'll get those tracks over to you by the end of the day. And I'm like, great, I've got your guide tracks in, and I now know where we are as a band. I know where the songs are all sitting, and I know we can then sit down and we can work back on them and work on what we need to do next so that we can get our new goal.
Yeah.
And it's a great way of keeping everyone on. Whereas if you don't have any form of guide, all you're thinking about is, oh, we've got another gig in 2 weeks. We'll have to rehearse and we'll play that gig. And then, oh, what are we doing next? Oh, we've booked another gig for 3 weeks' time. Right, we'll better rehearse for it. And you're like, all you're doing is rehearsing for every gig. You're never actually doing anything about writing and recording new material or anything.
Yeah.
You're just going gig to gig, which is what I see a lot of bands doing.
Yeah.
And they've actually said, some of the bands have actually said when we've spoken to them that they had to stop booking gigs because all they were ever doing was rehearsing and playing gigs. They were never getting to the point of actually, we need to spend time finishing writing and doing the tracking.
Yeah.
Because someone just keeps going, oh, well, someone's offered us a gig, we'll go play that one. And they needed to take that time, which I think is where I think a lot of bands need to be a little bit more selective about what gigs they play. There's this obsession of how many gigs we played last year.
Yeah.
Which is nice if you're playing to full packed houses every time. But there are a lot of people that are playing to 5 people and a dog in a pub. And that's not a successful gig in any shape or form. So that's the challenge of thinking about being selective and using that time. And I think the trackers do help that. They make you really focus in on what you need to achieve.
One thing I have seen actually coming out of the whole lockdown, the 2 years of us just being in complete shambles in regards to the music scene, is how many people are so appreciative of live gigs again. like that was a really devastating time for many people in many different ways, not just talking about the music industry, but like for me personally, I hate not performing. But that's literally why I do music, to do gigs, because I enjoy them. But that's something that has definitely changed. And I suppose, leading off of what you said a little bit, you're probably right that people need to sort of rein in maybe the booking of gigs, to try and concentrate more on being a present band on, you know, on social media, on Spotify, on platforms, YouTube, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So you're probably right.
Well, one thing I noticed today was I saw a tour poster for a band, and it literally had from April through to December on it of this year's tour. And I'm like, wasn't a tour meant to be like a month where you go on the road and you do a tour? Now it's become this thing where you just book a load of gigs throughout the whole year and you just make that your tour, which I think is really strange that that's become the way of working. But yeah, very strange at the moment. But anyway, very interesting conversation. Let us know what you people think in the comments down below about what you would expect from a band that's newly formed and how long they should be taking to get out new music for listeners. But anyway, if you like the video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll all see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.